Welcome to our channel US Coins World, where pocket change turns into treasure. In today's video, we're uncovering some of the rarest and most valuable US coins that could be hiding right under your nose. From surprising mint errors to coins worth thousands, get ready for a journey through America's hidden coin treasures. So let's dive into our today's video. Top 1 Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about coins among US coin collectors, the 1965 Washington quarter. Now, don't let this coin's ordinary appearance fool you, because there's a reason it's making headlines in the coin world. In fact, some versions of this coin have shocked the numismatic community with their staggering value. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this seemingly simple quarter could be hiding a fortune in plain sight. Let's rewind the clock a bit and set the stage. The year was 1965. The United States had just gone through a major change in its coinage. Before this year, quarters were made from 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices and the increasing cost of production, the US Mint made a dramatic switch. They removed silver from the quarter altogether and began producing them with a copper-nickel-clad composition. This decision made 1965 a transition year, and that transition is exactly where the magic lies for collectors. Now, the 1965 Washington quarter was supposed to be made with this new copper-nickel composition. But here's the twist: some of the old silver planchets from 1964 were accidentally used in the minting process for the 1965 quarters. Yes, that's right, silver quarters dated 1965 exist, and they are incredibly rare. These accidental strikings are known as transitional errors, and they're one of the most sought-after types of coin errors in all of numismatics, but that's not the only thing that makes the 1965 quarter special. Some of these coins show double die errors, off-center strikes, and even struck on wrong planchets, meaning they were mistakenly struck on metal blanks meant for other denominations like dimes. Each of these variations adds to the coin's uniqueness and increases its value dramatically. Collectors go wild for these kinds of errors because they're like fingerprint mistakes from the mint, unrepeatable, and one of a kind. What makes this even more exciting is that most people don't even realize they could be holding on to one of these treasures. Millions of 1965 quarters were minted, and the vast majority are common. But those with errors? They are hiding in plain sight, tucked away in old jars, stashed in wallets, or resting in forgotten drawers. If you're lucky enough to spot the right one, you're looking at a serious payday. So how do you tell if your 1965 quarter is one of the rare ones? First, check the coin's edge. If it's supposed to be the clad version, you'll see a visible copper layer on the edge. But if it's all silver with no copper tone, you might just be holding the transitional error version, the legendary silver 1965 quarter. Second, listen to the sound. Silver coins have a distinctive high-pitched ring when dropped, unlike the dull clink of a regular clad coin. And third, get it weighed. A regular 1965 clad quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. A silver quarter? Around 6.25 grams. That small difference could mean a massive jump in value. Still unsure? That's when you bring in the professionals. Sending your coin to be graded by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC is your best bet. If it's genuine and in high-grade condition, you could be in for something truly remarkable. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Just how much could one of these rare 1965 Washington quarters be worth? Well, one of these rare specimens, struck on a silver planchet and verified by experts, sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $78,000. That's right. $78,000 for a single quarter that most people would overlook in a handful of change. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. So if you're a collector, or even just someone who enjoys the thrill of a treasure hunt, keep your eyes open. The next time you sort through your pocket change or go through that old coin jar, give those 1965 quarters a closer look. Who knows? You might just discover a fortune hiding in your hand. Top 2, we're unlocking the secrets of a coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface but could be worth a shocking amount of money. Yes, we're talking about the 1967 Washington quarter, a coin that might be sitting quietly in your pocket change, completely overlooked. Until now you might be wondering, what's so special about a quarter from 1967? After all, millions were made, and they're still fairly common, right? Well, that's true, but the coin we're talking about today is no ordinary quarter. Some special versions of the 1967 quarter have stunned collectors across the world with their rarity, their historical context, and their astonishing value. Let's rewind to the late 1960s in the United States. The country was experiencing a coin shortage, and because of this, the U.S. Mint made some big decisions. First, they had already removed silver from quarters in 1965, switching entirely to a copper-nickel-clad composition. Second, and most importantly for collectors, from 1965 through 1967, the Mint did not use mint marks on quarters, meaning no D for Denver or S for San Francisco, nothing. All 1967 quarters looked the same on the surface. And that makes things even more exciting, because if any unusual version slipped through the cracks, it's nearly impossible to distinguish it, unless you know exactly what to look for. Now here's where things get really interesting. In this time of mass production and high-speed minting, errors were more likely to occur, and some of these errors have become legendary. Imagine finding a 1967 quarter that was accidentally struck on a silver planchet, left over from earlier coin production. These transitional errors are incredibly rare, and finding one with a 1967 date would make it a true anomaly. Others were mistakenly struck on foreign coin planchets, or even on dime-sized blanks, which made them lighter and slightly off in design. And then there are double die errors, where the image or date appears doubled, giving the coin a ghost-like appearance that collectors absolutely love. One of the most fascinating error types is known as a broad strike, where the coin is struck outside the collar, causing it to spread wider than normal. It's easy to spot but often misunderstood. Combine that with other striking errors or wrong metal compositions, and suddenly you have a coin that turns into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. These are not just small quirks, they are minting mistakes that create rarities, and rarity is what drives up value in the coin collecting world. A standard 1967 quarter in circulated condition might only be worth face value, but a rare variant, struck in error, especially in uncirculated condition, can be worth an incredible amount. Now let's talk about condition for a moment. Grading matters a lot. A 1967 Washington quarter that has been perfectly preserved, with no scratches, no wear, and brilliant luster, can command a much higher value. Coins graded MS-67 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC are especially prized. Combine that perfect grade with a unique minting error, and you have a potential showstopper. You might be asking yourself, could I have one of these quarters and not even know it? The answer is yes. And that's the magic of coin collecting. Every pocketful of change is a mystery waiting to be solved. If you find a 1967 quarter that looks unusual, maybe it sounds different when dropped, looks shinier than usual, has a strange weight, or has design quirks, don't ignore it. Get it inspected, get it graded, and you might just uncover a coin worth far more than 25 cents. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. There have been reports and confirmed sales of extremely rare 1967 Washington quarters, struck in error and preserved in high condition, being auctioned for a staggering $76,000. Yes, you heard that right. $76,000. For one quarter. That's the thrill of numismatics. That's what keeps collectors searching, sorting, and discovering, because a simple coin, overlooked by millions, could become a life-changing find for someone who knew what to look for. So, if you're passionate about coins, or even just curious, take another look at those quarters you've tossed into your coin jar. That old change might just be hiding a secret worth tens of thousands of dollars. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss another hidden treasure. Top 3. We're about to explore one very special coin, the 1971 Washington quarter, a piece of American history that might just be worth far more than its face value. Now, at first glance, the 1971 quarter might seem like just another common coin. It's one you've probably handled dozens, maybe even hundreds of times without giving it much thought. But some of these quarters are anything but ordinary. In fact, a few rare versions of the 1971 Washington quarter have left collectors stunned, not only because of how hard they are to find, but because of how much they're worth today. Let's take a moment to look at the backdrop of 1971. The early 70s were a time of transition for U.S. coinage. Silver had been fully removed from quarters starting in 1965, and by 1971, all Washington quarters were struck using a copper-nickel-clad composition. That means if you come across a silver-looking 1971 quarter, it could be something incredibly special. And that's where the hunt begins. So what makes a 1971 Washington quarter rare or valuable? The answer lies in a few key things: errors, composition, and condition. Let's break it down. Point 1. Of the most exciting error types is a wrong planchet error. That's when a quarter is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another coin, such as a penny or even a foreign coin. These mistakes are extremely rare, but they do happen. Imagine finding a 1971 quarter struck on a silver dime planchet, or even on a foreign coin blank. That kind of error instantly turns a common coin into a collector's dream. Another possibility is the off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned during minting. This results in a portion of the design missing, which might sound like a flaw, but to collectors, it's a rare and exciting discovery. The further off-center it is, the more valuable it becomes, especially if the date is still fully visible. There are also double die errors, where elements of the design, like the lettering or the date, appear to be doubled. This isn't just a trick of the eye, it's a real minting mistake that can significantly increase the value of a coin. A sharp, clear double die error from 1971 can easily stand out, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for it. Now let's talk about the condition of the coin. Even without errors, a 1971 Washington quarter that has never been circulated, what we call mint state, can still be worth a good deal. Coins graded MS-65 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC are considered top tier. They have sharp detail, a strong strike, and virtually no blemishes. Add an error to a coin in this condition, and the value doesn't just go up, it skyrockets. But here's where it gets really exciting. There have been verified instances of 1971 quarters struck on leftover silver planchets, a major mistake since quarters weren't supposed to be made from silver at that time. If you happen to find one of these transitional error coins, you're not just looking at a collectible. You're looking at a treasure. Now, how do you know if your 1971 quarter is something special? First, check the edge. A clad quarter will have a visible copper stripe on the edge. A silver planchet will have a solid silver color all the way around. Also, consider the weight. A clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, but a silver one will be closer to 6.25 grams. That small difference could mean a big payday. If you suspect you've got something rare, don't guess. Have it professionally graded and authenticated. That's how some collectors have turned a humble quarter into an auction-worthy showpiece. And now for the moment you've been waiting for, the incredible value. A rare 1971 Washington quarter with the right combination of a striking error, a silver planchet, and mint state condition has sold at auction for an unbelievable $73,000. That's right. $73,000. For one quarter. So next time you're digging through old change, don't overlook that 1971 Washington quarter. What looks like a simple coin might just be the one that makes all your collecting dreams come true. Top 4. We're diving into a seemingly ordinary piece of American currency, the 1972 Washington quarter, and you're about to find out how this common coin might just be worth a stunning amount of money. Now, we all know the Washington quarter. It's been a staple in American pockets for decades. But most people don't realize that certain years, and certain errors, have turned these everyday coins into collector gold. The 1972 quarter is one of those coins. It's not rare because of how few were made. In fact, hundreds of millions were struck that year. What makes this coin special is what happened to a few of them during the minting process. So let's break it down. By 1972, the U.S. Mint had long stopped using silver in quarters. Since 1965, quarters were made with a copper core sandwiched between layers of nickel. But even with modern minting equipment, mistakes happen. And in coin collecting, those mistakes can be worth serious money. One of the most fascinating types of errors from 1972 is the wrong planchet error. That's when a coin is struck on a metal blank that was meant for another denomination, or even another country's currency. Imagine a 1972 quarter struck on a silver planchet left over from earlier years, or on a foreign coin blank used for international coinage produced at U.S. mints. That instantly makes the coin a standout and, more importantly, a rarity. There are also reports of off-metal errors, where a 1972 quarter was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for a penny or even a $half. These off-metal coins usually have unusual weights or colors and are easy to miss if you're not paying close attention. Next up are double die errors. This is a fan favorite among collectors. A double die error occurs when the coin is struck twice by the die, and the second strike is slightly offset. The result? You'll see doubling in the letters, numbers, or design features, especially on Liberty or the date 1972. These coins are not only visually striking, but they're also incredibly valuable when certified, and then there's the off-center strike, another visually dramatic error. This happens when the coin is not properly centered during the striking process. The result is a coin with part of the design missing, sometimes even cutting into the date or lettering. If the date is still visible and the off-center strike is significant, collectors pay a premium for these misfits. Let's not forget broad strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks. Each of these minting errors can turn an otherwise average quarter into something worth far more than face value. Now here's the real kicker: condition matters a lot. A 1972 quarter with an error is valuable, but if it's also in mint state, that value multiplies. Coins that have never been circulated, graded MS-65 or higher by services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch eye-popping prices at auction. The luster, the strike sharpness, and the absence of wear all contribute to a coin's grade, and to its market value, and here's where the fun begins for collectors. Most of these high-value coins were pulled from circulation by someone with a sharp eye. They weren't handed down from kings or hidden in bank vaults, they were found in regular change. That means your next trip to the grocery store or your next handful of quarters from the couch cushions could lead to an incredible discovery. So how do you know if your 1972 Washington quarter is special? First, check the coin's weight. If it weighs more or less than the standard 5.67 grams, you might have an off-metal error. Second, examine the edges. Is the copper layer visible? If not, you could be holding a silver planchet mistake. Third, look closely at the design. Use a magnifying glass to check for doubling, off-center strikes, or strange textures. And if you suspect anything unusual, it's always worth getting it professionally graded, because now, get ready for this: a rare 1972 Washington quarter with the right error, struck on the wrong planchet and in pristine condition, has sold at auction for an incredible $70,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $70,000. For a single quarter. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's a treasure hunt where knowledge and attention to detail can literally pay off. A coin that's passed through 1,000 hands might hold the key to an extraordinary story, and an extraordinary payday. So go ahead, check those coins in your drawer, look through the change in your car, and don't toss aside those old quarters just yet. Your 1972 Washington quarter might be far more than 25 cents, it might be the find of a lifetime. Top 5. We're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1973 Washington quarter, a coin that most people overlook, but some versions of it have taken collectors by surprise with just how valuable they can be. That's right, this quarter might look like an ordinary 25-cent piece, but in the world of numismatics, a few rare 1973 quarters have become legends, turning up at auctions and leaving people shocked at the final sale price. So stay with me until the end of this video, because I'm going to walk you through exactly why this coin is so interesting, what rare errors to look for, and how to tell if you might have a valuable one in your own collection. Let's start with some history. The year was 1973, America was changing. The Vietnam War was winding down, Watergate was dominating the headlines, and inflation was starting to grip the economy. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint was continuing to strike millions of coins, including the iconic Washington quarter. These quarters were made from a copper-nickel clad composition, with a copper core and a nickel outer layer, the same type used since 1965 after silver was removed from circulation coins, but as with any large-scale minting process, mistakes can happen. And those mistakes are what drive collectors wild. So what makes the 1973 quarter so special? It all comes down to rarity. errors, and condition. Let's start with the errors, because this is where the magic lies. Point 1. Of the most valuable and desirable error types is the wrong planchet error. This happens when a quarter is struck on a blank that was meant for a different coin, like a penny or a foreign coin. These errors are extremely rare, but they've been confirmed by grading services and sold at major auctions. Imagine holding a quarter that's a little too light, or too small, or with an odd color, and finding out it's one of these rare off-metal strikes. That's a game changer. Next up, we've got double die errors. These occur when the coin die shifts slightly between strikes, creating a ghost-like doubling in the design. On a 1973 quarter, this could show up in the word Liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the date itself. Collectors love these double die errors, especially when they're dramatic and easy to see without a microscope. There's also the off-center strike, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting. If the date is still visible but the design is significantly off-center, that coin becomes an instant standout. Combine that with a high grade and you've got a real treasure. Some 1973 quarters even show signs of clipped planchets, a section of the coin missing from the edge, or broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar, causing it to spread out abnormally. These quirky mistakes give a coin a unique character, and uniqueness is what collectors crave. But let's not forget one of the most important factors in coin collecting: condition. A rare error is valuable, but when you find that same error in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, then you're talking about serious money. Coins like this were often saved straight from the mint or never entered circulation at all. Now here's what makes this especially exciting for collectors and even casual hobbyists: these coins aren't locked in museums or private collections. They're out there. In pocket change, in old coin jars, in rolls from the bank. That's the thrill of the hunt, because your next incredible find could be hiding in plain sight. So how can you tell if your 1973 quarter is a rare and valuable one? Start by examining it carefully. Check the edges. Do you see the typical copper stripe? Or does it look more silver-colored throughout? That could signal a wrong planchet. Weigh the coin. A standard 1973 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. Anything significantly lighter or heavier is worth checking out. Look closely at the details. Doubling, missing sections, odd shapes, or anything out of the ordinary is worth investigating, and if you do spot something unusual, don't guess, get it certified. A coin authentication and grading service can tell you exactly what you have, and they can unlock the coin's true market value. Now for the part you've been waiting for. One extraordinary 1973 Washington quarter, featuring a rare mint error and preserved in pristine, mint state condition, was sold at auction for a staggering $68,000. Yes, you heard that right. $68,000. For a single quarter. That's the kind of discovery that keeps collectors searching, keeps the passion alive, and proves that history, beauty, and value can be found in the most unexpected places. So next time you see a 1973 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Look at it. Really look. Because you might just be holding something truly special. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, mint errors, and valuable discoveries hiding in everyday change, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell. We've got so many more treasures to uncover, and one of them might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your next quarter be the one worth $68,000.